Well, today I'm on Mr. Chippy's bench, and upside down, because I wouldn't know otherwise, is the strangest looking amplifier, hi-fi amplifier I've ever seen. It's called a Sonab R4000. Now, I don't do generally hi-fi equipment, and this is a job I'm taking off Mr. Chippy. 4 weeks ago, a gentleman brought this in personally, and I don't like things to be more than 4 weeks here before they get started. And Mr. Chippy does mainly Marshall guitar amplifiers. So don't understand why this is. Distortion on right hand channel, fair enough. Speaker set A worse than speaker set B. I couldn't see why. I wouldn't know. I'm going to have to look at the circuit diagram. We have got the circuit diagram. Loud thump from speakers when turning off. Well, that's probably normal anyway. So this is a tuner amplifier with the weirdest tuning dial. It's FM only, a bit like the HMV Stereo Masters I am trained and qualified to work on. And he says that, I think he says that it only works on one channel when in phono mode, so we need to look at the way its preamplifier works. Now then, this is of European descent. It's no problem with us whatsoever, but it is to some people who haven't seen non-Japanese amplifiers. So we've got a bizarre looking socket, which is probably a European one, on the back. We're set for 240 volts, and so we have a 5-pin DIN phono socket, 5-pin DIN auxiliary socket, 5-pin DIN tape socket, and that's not a problem at all. So, because it's got a built-in tuner, so I'm going to be able to use that as a test source, although we're in a very, very poor reception area and I don't have sockets, plugs to go into those sockets. What I do have is adapters for our bench speakers for DIN. Now, under this bench are a pair of disco speakers, and of course, as Mr. Chippy does, you can see what he does, crocodile clips. Mr. Chippy's doing amplifiers which are often, 35 watts and so on, and so that's why we have a pair of disco speakers under the bench. So if I plug this one into the right hand channel, you know what I'm going to do before we start? I'm going to actually put this meter on and make sure we've got some kind of continuity on this speaker. There's nothing worse than plugging an amplifier in. 7.9 ohms, that'll do me. So we'll put that in the right hand channel. And the other one, and there's our other one. So once again, I think these are 300 watt disco speakers, so there we go. So I'm going to be testing on speaker system A, so we'll switch that off. We'll switch that on and that one off. It's possible the FM hiss will be quite sufficient for us to detect whether anything happens on this. There shouldn't be any problem connecting it up. It's not like some of the vintage gear I've done which hasn't been switched on for 3 decades, and we do certain capacitor changes before even powering it up. So in this one's case, I don't see any reason to use isolation transformers or anything like that. I think we'll use the sockets on the right. And these are switch sockets. gentleman is involved in hospital operating theatre electronics, so he's not daft. Power. So I'm going to make sure I've got full treble, balance to minimum, to middle, sorry, and we'll go into watt, FM. So we can hear we've got a hiss from the left and a hiss from the right. And I can tell straight away the right hand channel is weaker than the left. So the other thing he said was about this phono situation. So we'll get an appropriate DIN lead out. If you hear background music, it's background system here. So I'll just plug that into phono. So put the balance to centre, we'll switch to phono, we'll turn down the volume. Now he said he got nothing from the left hand channel. Left hand channel, right hand channel, left hand channel, right hand channel. So I don't know what his snag is there. What I will do is to plug into auxiliary. There's just that slim possibility, though highly unlikely, that he has a record turntable that outputs to auxiliary. So there we go to auxiliary. Now but you're much lower level. Right hand channel, left hand channel. I've got less volume on the auxiliary on the left hand channel. We do have output meter here for stereo, but I will do that with a signal generator. So I think we're going to be in a situation where with something this kind of age, it's going to be capacitors. So I think that's what we're going to be doing. We'll go through it for capacitors. I'm going to pause the video and we'll take it apart if we can. I'm sure this video is going to be multi-part because we're going to have to order parts. I've used the word part there twice in different contexts. So I've taken the lids off it, which isn't too difficult, and we can get to both sides. So we've got 4 boards, 5 boards, then a couple of capacitors on the chassis here. And I think the sensible thing to do is to change everything. I just think that something that's 1970s is time for all these electrolytic capacitors to go. Yeah, and that's going to include the big ones. So those are going to have to be ordered. That's going to be the thing which is going to take the time. So it's a matter of where do we start. We could start with the board where there's only one capacitor, couldn't we? Not sure whether we're going to put axial ones in. No, I think that's a silly waste of money. Now we have radials in stock. We've got Nikicons hopefully for most of these values. I'll tell you what, they'll weigh a bit less with new capacitors in, won't it? So I think that's what we'll get on with doing. So there's no actual malfunction, it's just different on both channels, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be capacitors. So I'll test these as we take them out. So I'll get back to you when we've made a start. Right, so we've got to a stage on this, a stage where I've had to order parts, and as I said, I didn't want this to go on and on, which is why I'm doing it personally. So we've taken out, I don't know whether the camera's in show, I can't really move it. I've done all these capacitors, and I haven't tested them yet, and it all got nastiness underneath. I'll test this one at random. So we've got 220 microfarads at 35 volts. Now this is one I haven't replaced, I've had to order. We only have them up to 25 volts in stock. 248, I mean that's fine. I'll just test one of these at random too. Probably every one of them's fine. 1.3, 3.2 ohms. What we've got here, 47. Let's try that again. 61. Starting to get high. So, yeah, of course they need changing after all this period of time, and that's why we're doing it. So, I'll just plonk that in underneath. I had to take that off the top board because I needed to order. These boards are SRBP. I think it's a poor show, to be honest, to have boards as horrible as this in a product that's supposed to be as good as this. Big believer in fiberglass boards, but there you are. So I've changed everything I can. The axial ones I've changed for all radial types because I couldn't get 1 microfarad not Rubicon, Nikon. I couldn't get them in axial format, so I can keep with the Nikon capacitors. We've put in radial ones and just bent the leads accordingly. So we've got 2 CAN electrolytics there. They're 2200. I've ordered some so that we can match up the width so they go in the clips, and the 4 underneath on that subboard will change when these are out. So what I'm going to do, we're going to power it back up with what I've changed, and I'll have to do it vertically, so let's just see whether we can move the camera a bit round. Otherwise this is going to be a show and tell. So where have I put the speakers? By that I mean the leads. So that's our right hand channel. I've also looked at the circuit diagram and there's no difference between A and B, so system A and B can't sound different, and that's interesting, isn't it? So let's power this back up. So we'll go over to FM. Just turn down the background music in here.
Side of England and Scotland. Thunderstorms in East Anglia. It's nice if you're on the Broads. High temperature 22 in Margate. It's 22 in Margate. Tonight mild and cloudy. That's Friday night today. These shadows will be mainly dying out later. The month and eastern Scotland getting some ahead. Then tomorrow.
See if we can get radio, oh, was it Classic FM? Anyway, it sounds dreadful. Let's just look into that. Now I've changed all the capacitors on the power amplifier. So we'll see what happens as work progresses. So this is going to definitely be a work in progress, and I think it's the 19th of October that the power supply capacitors are due to turn up. So we will do everything except those, because the other parts are coming in a matter of 10 days or so. So there we go. So we've got this interesting thing. I've never seen one before in my life. And where did I say these were made? I don't think I did, but I did manage to get a circuit diagram. It's made in Sweden. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We've done 20. So I've actually done 2/3 of them, to be honest. Thanks for watching.